A fresh conflict has emerged between Tamil Nadu Governor R. N. Ravi and the government over appointment of Vice-Chancellors to 3 universities. A legal battle appears imminent. What is this controversy all about? Vanakkam, this is T. Suresh Kumar. Thank you for joining me in this episode of the Hindu Focus Tamil Nadu. Today we shall discuss how a policy level clash between the governor and the government is adversely impacting the administrative and academic progress of certain universities. First, a little bit of background. Last year, the tenure of Vice-Chancellors of the Bharathiar University in Coimbatore and the Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University in Chennai had ended. Now, usually when the tenure of a Vice-Chancellor ends, a 3-member search-cum-selection committee is constituted, and this committee shortlists 3 candidates for the post of Vice-Chancellor and submits it to the governor. The governor, in his capacity as Chancellor, would eventually choose one candidate and appoint him or her as the Vice-Chancellor of the state university. Now, in the case of these 2 universities, a month before the tenure of the Vice-Chancellors had ended, the Tamil Nadu government had constituted 2 separate search committees for Vice-Chancellors. Both these committees were formally notified in the government gazette as well. Curiously, in September 1st week, Governor R. N. Ravi issued a fresh notification constituting separate search committees for these 2 universities and also for the University of Madras, where the term of the Vice-Chancellor came to an end in August. The difference between the search committee constituted by the government earlier and the governor was that the previous search committee was a 3-member committee, whereas the one constituted by the governor had an additional member, that is the nominee of the University Grants Commission Chairperson. So essentially, the governor's search committee had 4 members. The governor cited the UGC regulations of 2018 for his decision. However, this was strongly objected to by the Higher Education Minister Ponmudi, who also happens to be the pro-chancellor of these universities. Ponmudi argued that the action of the governor was in contravention of the statutes and laws governing these universities. He said the governor did not have the power to constitute search committee, especially when the government had already constituted the search committees in respect of Bharathiar University and the Teachers Education University. He also warned that a legal confrontation could be on the cards. Now, in the meanwhile, the Tamil Nadu government also went ahead and notified a notification in the Gazette constituting a 3-member search committee for the University of Madras as opposed to the 4-member committee that was earlier notified by the governor. Last week, the governor issued a press release where he said the Higher Education Secretary did not have the authority to issue such a notification for the University of Madras. He called for its withdrawal, and he said that not only is the action of the Higher Education Secretary violative of the UGC regulations, but it also goes against Supreme Court judgments. Now, what is the legal position here? Now, legally in 2018, the UGC had notified certain regulations as per which a search committee must also have a nominee of the UGC chairman. However, it also remains a fact that none of the state universities in Tamil Nadu had adopted these regulations and amended the statutes governing the respective universities. Now, academics are divided over the actions taken by both the governor as well as the government. A section of academics who are supportive of the government have pointed out that the Supreme Court in the Kalyani Madhivanan case had clearly said that the UGC regulations are only directive in nature and not mandatory. Kalyani Madhivanan, an associate professor, was appointed Vice-Chancellor of the Madurai Kamaraj University in 2012. At that time, the UGC regulations of 2010 mandated that only a person who had served as a professor for a minimum period of 10 years in a university system could be appointed Vice-Chancellor. When this issue eventually went to the Supreme Court upheld Kalyani Madhivanan's appointment by pointing out that at the time of her appointment, the Madurai Kamaraj University had not adopted the UGC regulations of 2010, and therefore when there is a state legislation governing the administration of universities, only that shall prevail and not the UGC regulations. But however, last year the Supreme Court in two separate cases related to the appointment of Vice-Chancellors to the Sardar Patel University in Gujarat and to the APJ Abdul Kalam Technological University in Kerala had ruled that the decision in the Kalyani Madhivanan case was not proper, but instead they said when a state legislation is repugnant of the central law, then the latter would prevail. So they said, as per Article 254 of the Constitution, this was the mandated law, and they said the UGC regulations must be followed, and they set aside the appointment of these two vice chancellors. What happened later was that, citing this judgment, the Kerala Governor Arif Mohammad Khan had called for the resignation of vice chancellors of 11 state universities, holding that their appointments were not as per the mandate set by the UGC regulations. Of course, the vice chancellors did not resign, and the issue escalated legally as well. But against this backdrop, if you notice, now has a question arises if the last word on this is out yet. But PDT Achari, the former Secretary General of the Lok Sabha, had in an article in the Hindu articulated the position that Article 254 cannot be cited in this case. He said the UGC regulation is by a subordinate authority, whereas a state legislation follows the due process of enactment after discussion in the assembly, and Article 254 would be applicable only when the state law is repugnant of the central legislation and not a subordinate body like the UGC. So essentially he differentiated between an enactment and rules and regulations. So he said rules and regulations will not take precedence over an enactment, a law per se. So going by that, he said the state law should prevail. The state has every authority to appoint vice chancellors as per its enactment and the laws governing the universities, and not necessarily by following the UGC regulations. So technically, as things stand today, the three universities in Tamil Nadu are without vice chancellors. They are being governed by a 3-member convener committee, which means decision making process is not very easy there, because it's a different matter when a vice chancellor takes a decision and when 3 members have to meet to decide on every aspect that the university needs. So the only solution for this is what Professor Balagurusamy, the former vice chancellor of Anna University, has articulated. Professor Balagurusamy incidentally has been supporting initiatives of the governor when it comes to higher education initiatives in the past, but in this case he has articulated that the governor does not have the authority to constitute a search committee, and a search committee can take effect only when the state government notifies it. And therefore he said that the state universities are governed by state laws, and against that backdrop it would be better for the government and the governor to work in tandem, avoid confrontation and resolve things between themselves. I think that is a more workable solution now. Ideally, the governor must call the higher education minister, sit across the table and discuss things out. Legal solutions are possible, but then when matters go to court, it takes a lot of time, and eventually the higher education system is affected. The students who are pursuing higher education are affected. Therefore, the sooner this issue gets resolved, the better for the university system in Tamil Nadu. It remains to be seen whether both the governor and the government will proactively work on this. We shall see that in another video. This is T. Suresh Kumar signing off. Please do log on to thehindu.com and subscribe to the Hindu YouTube channel for more such videos. Thank you.